The massive station hung in space like a jewel, reflecting light from 3 different suns. Inside the grand chamber, representatives from 847 different alien species sat in their designated seats. The air hummed with the sound of translation devices working overtime, converting thousands of languages into something everyone could understand. Ambassador Kira stood at the center podium. She was tall and elegant, with skin that shifted colors based on her emotions. Right now, it displayed deep purple, the color of absolute certainty. Her 4 vocal cords vibrated in harmony as she spoke. "The matter is settled," Kira announced. "Humanity has refused our lawful demands. They will not surrender their weapons. They will not dismantle their military ships. They show no respect for the Council's authority. Therefore, we have no choice. The Galactic Council officially declares war on the human race." The chamber erupted in agreement. Species that had never fought a battle in 10,000 years banged their appendages on their desks in approval. War was rare in the galaxy. The last real conflict had ended 3 millennia ago. But rules were rules, and humanity had broken them. On Earth, in a military command center buried deep beneath the city of Seoul, Admiral Day watched the transmission. He was a thin man in his 60s, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. Beside him, Captain Hana monitored the data streams coming from human ships scattered across a dozen star systems. The translation finished. Kira's final words echoed through the speakers. "Let it be known across all worlds. Humanity is now an enemy of peace. We will bring them to justice." Day stared at the screen for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. His shoulders started shaking. A sound escaped his lips. It started small but grew louder. He was laughing. Hana looked at him in surprise. "Sir?" Day couldn't stop. He laughed until tears formed in his eyes. He pressed a button on his console, opening channels to every human military installation in known space. "Did everyone just see that?" he managed to say between laughs. From the lunar defense stations, someone started laughing. From the shipyards on Mars, more laughter. Within minutes, the communication channels filled with the sound of humans laughing across 12 star systems. Captain Tay, commanding a destroyer near Jupiter, had to sit down. "They actually did it," he said, wiping his eyes. "They actually declared war on us." Lieutenant Yuna, stationed at an orbital defense platform, muted her microphone so her crew wouldn't hear her laughing. But when she looked around, they were all laughing too. The laughter wasn't mean or cruel. It was the laughter of people who knew something others didn't. The laughter of students watching someone confidently give the wrong answer. The laughter of recognition at a cosmic joke. Hana finally managed to compose herself. "Sir, we need to send an official response." Day nodded, still smiling. He opened a text channel to the Council's diplomatic frequency. His fingers moved across the keyboard. "To the Galactic Council," he typed. "We respectfully decline your declaration of war. However, if you truly insist on this course of action, we recommend you review the attached file for context. Please be advised, the file is quite large." He attached a compressed archive labeled Human History Zip and added a note. "Warning: 50 terabytes of data. Viewer discretion advised." He sent the message. Across human space, military personnel gathered in break rooms and command centers, sharing the news. The aliens had declared war. Actually, declared war. On humanity, the species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. In the cafeteria of Mars Shipyard Station, engineer Inho explained it to a confused maintenance worker. "They don't get it. The Council species, they've been peaceful for so long, they forgot what war actually means. To them, it's this formal thing with rules and honor, like a sport. And to us?" the worker asked. Inho's smile faded. "To us, war is what we spent centuries trying to forget. It's what we teach our children to fear. It's what we built our entire modern society to avoid ever doing again." Back in Seoul Command, Day received confirmation that the message had been delivered. The council had logged the receipt, but hadn't opened the file. Of course they hadn't. Why would they need human history lessons? They were the advanced civilization. They were the ones who had mastered peace. How long do we give them? Hana asked quietly. We give them every chance, Day replied, his humor fading into something more serious. We warn them. We show them. We do everything possible to make them understand what they're asking for. And if they don't listen? Day looked at the star map on the main display, showing human colonies scattered across local space. Each one represented millions of lives. Families, children, people who had grown up in an era of peace, who had never known the wars their ancestors fought. Then we remind the galaxy why humanity spent 200 years trying to forget how to fight, he said softly. We show them what happens when you back a species into a corner. A species that climbed to the top of their planet's food chain, not with claws or armor or venom, but with tools and tactics, and an absolute refusal to give up. He pulled up another screen, showing reports from the Council's military buildup. The Talveth Collective was already moving ships into position. They commanded 200 vessels, the largest military force in Council space. They were proud warriors with a tradition of honorable combat stretching back 5,000 years. The Talveth are taking point, Hana observed. They're planning to hit Proxima Station first. Probably want to make an example. How many ships do we have in that sector? 12. All small craft. The station itself has minimal defenses. Against 200 Talveth warships. Yes, sir. Day closed his eyes. He had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Had hoped the Council would listen to reason. Would open that file. Would understand. But hope wasn't a strategy. Hope didn't protect colonies. Send a message to Commander Na, on the Soul's Pride, he ordered. Tell her to prepare Protocol Sejong. Full authorization. Hana's fingers hesitated over her keyboard. Protocol Sejong was named after a Korean king who had prepared his kingdom for war by creating weapons and strategies no enemy expected. It was the protocol they had hoped never to use. Sir, if we execute Sejong against the Talveth fleet, they'll learn. Day interrupted. The question is whether they'll learn fast enough to stop this before it goes too far. The laughter had faded from Soul Command. Now there was only grim determination. Across human space, military commanders received their orders. Civilians were quietly moved to secure locations. Factories that built mining equipment retooled for military production. Ships that carried cargo loaded different payloads. Humanity had enjoyed 50 years of peace among the stars, 50 years of exploration and discovery and friendship, 50 years of hoping they had left their violent past behind. But they had never forgotten. Every human child still learned about the wars. Every officer still trained for scenarios they prayed would never happen. Every ship still carried weapons that technically violated Council regulations. Because humanity knew something the Council had forgotten over their long peace. They knew that the best way to prevent war was to be so prepared for it that no one dared start one. The Council was about to learn this lesson, and humanity desperately hoped they would learn it quickly, before the teaching became too painful for everyone involved. The Council's Intelligence Committee met in a secured chamber 3 days after the war declaration. Security was tight. The mood was tense. Several species had started asking uncomfortable questions about humanity's response. Or rather, their lack of proper fear. Professor Jin walked into the room wearing a simple gray suit and carrying a data pad. He was a small man, with gentle eyes and graying hair at his temples. He taught history at Seoul University and had been chosen as humanity's special representative for one reason. He knew how to explain complicated truths in simple terms. The committee chair, a Valoran with crystalline skin, gestured to the presentation area. You have 10 minutes, human. Explain your species' inappropriate response to our lawful declaration. Jin smiled politely and activated the holographic display. Thank you. I'll try to be brief. Though I should warn you, humanity's story isn't a simple one. Images appeared in the air above the committee. A planet. Blue and green, hanging in space. This is Earth as it appeared 300 years ago. Beautiful, isn't it? The committee members murmured agreement. Now let me show you something. Jin changed the image. Same planet, same time period, but now zoomed in to show cities. Massive cities with millions of people. This is also Earth. 300 years ago, we had 7 billion people on one world. Do you know how we managed to feed everyone? How we organized ourselves? A committee member from the Harmonious Peaks shifted uncomfortably. Efficient resource distribution? Collective cooperation? Jin's smile turned sad. We competed. We fought. We drew lines on maps and called them countries. And then we fought over those lines. For resources, for religions, for ideas, for pride. He changed the image again. Now it showed soldiers in trenches, covered in mud, holding primitive weapons. This is from our First World War. We fought with guns and gas and artillery. 9 million soldiers died, 7 million civilians. We called it the war to end all wars. The room fell silent. But it didn't end war, Jin continued. He showed new images. Cities in flames, mushroom clouds rising over destroyed landscapes. 21 years later, we fought again. The Second World War. 70 million dead. We created weapons using nuclear fission, splitting atoms to release energy. The first thing we did with this discovery wasn't to power our cities. It was to build bombs. A committee member stood up, his green face turning pale yellow. This is propaganda. No species would do this to themselves. Dr. Sora, who had been standing quietly in the corner, stepped forward. She was younger than Jin, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. It's not propaganda. It's history. Verified history. We have photographs, videos, survivors' accounts, military records. Would you like to see more? The committee chair waved for her to continue. Sora pulled up new data. After the Second World War, we entered what we called the Cold War. 2 massive alliances, each armed with enough nuclear weapons to destroy our entire planet, multiple times over. We came within minutes of launching them. Multiple times. But you didn't, someone said. You survived. Barely, Sora replied. And not because we were peaceful. We survived because we terrified ourselves into stability. We created something called MAD, mutually assured destruction. If anyone launched their weapons, everyone would die. So no one launched them. Jin took over again. During this time, we fought smaller wars. Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, the Middle East. We fought with bullets and bombs and chemical weapons. We fought in jungles and deserts and cities. We got very, very good at killing each other. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. We also got very good at preventing others from killing us. We developed tactics, strategies, weapon systems. We studied warfare like some species study art, because for us, it wasn't theoretical. It was survival. The committee was silent now. Several members looked physically ill. You need to understand something, Jin said softly. Every human child learns this history. We make them study our wars not to glorify them, but to horrify them. We want every generation to remember what we're capable of, so we never do it again. Sora activated another display, showing modern human military vessels. Since we reached the stars 15 years ago, we've been watching you. The Council. All the species, and we've noticed something interesting. What? The committee chair asked quietly. You've forgotten how to fight, Sora said bluntly. Your military ships are ceremonial. Your weapons haven't been updated in 3,000 years. Your tactics are designed for honor and tradition, not victory. You have rules of honorable warfare that tell your enemies exactly what you're going to do before you do it. There is honor in battle, a Talveth representative protested. There's death in battle, Sora corrected. Honor is what you tell yourself afterwards to justify the killing. We learned that lesson in blood. Jin pulled up one final image. It showed a human warship, sleek and dark, bristling with weapons the Council had never seen before. This is what we built while you thought we were primitive. Not because we want to fight, but because we know what happens when you're not prepared. This is a threat, the Talaveth representative said, standing. No, Jin replied. It's a warning. You declared war on us. We're trying to explain why that was a mistake. Your species have been at peace so long, you think war is like a game with rules and referees. It's not. War is chaos. War is horror. War is something we desperately don't want to teach you. The committee chair leaned forward. Are you saying you could defeat the Council? Jin and Sora exchanged a glance. We're saying, Jin answered carefully, that you don't want to find out. Because if you force us to fight, we won't fight the way you expect. We won't follow your rules. We won't announce our attacks or maintain honorable formations. We'll fight to win, using everything we learned from fighting ourselves for 10,000 years. That's barbaric, someone whispered. Yes, Jin agreed. It is. That's exactly our point. You've been civilized for so long, you've forgotten what barbarism looks like. We haven't. We can't afford to, Sora added. In the 15 years since first contact, we've studied every Council species. We know your languages, your cultures, your psychology. We know how you think, how you fight, how you organize. Do you know why? No one answered. Because that's what we do, Sora continued. When humans encounter something new, we study it. We analyze it. We figure out its weaknesses. Not because we're cruel, but because that's how we survived on a planet where everything wanted to eat us. That instinct doesn't go away just because we reach the stars. The committee sat in stunned silence. Finally, the chair spoke. What do you want from us? Withdraw the war declaration, Jin said simply. Go back to peace. Let us continue to be your friends and partners. We like the Council. We admire your achievements. We don't want to hurt you. And if we don't, Jin's expression turned grave. Then we'll defend ourselves. And when it's over, you'll understand why we tried so hard to warn you. You'll understand why we laughed when you declared war. Not because we thought you were weak, but because we knew what you were asking for. And we knew you had no idea. Actor. The meeting ended shortly after. The committee members filed out in silence, many of them looking shaken. The Talaveth representative stopped at the door and looked back at Jin. Your warnings won't save you, he said. The Talveth Collective has decided. We will make an example of your Proxima Station. In 3 days, our fleet will demonstrate proper Council military power. Jin nodded slowly. I'm sorry to hear that. Truly sorry. Please tell your fleet commanders that we beg them to reconsider. Lives don't need to be lost over pride. The Talaveth representative left without another word. Sora walked over to Jin. They're not going to listen, are they? No, Jin said quietly. They're going to Proxima, and they're going to learn the hard way. How many ships are they sending? 200. Against our 12. Sora closed her eyes. Those poor fools. May they survive the lesson, Jin whispered. And may they learn it well enough that no one else has to. Commander Na stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching her tactical display with calm eyes. She was a career officer, 42 years old, with steady hands and a reputation for clear thinking under pressure. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, efficiently, preparing for what was coming. Contact in 30 minutes, Lieutenant Hyun reported from the tactical station. He was young, fresh from the academy. And this would be his first real battle. Talveth Fleet is maintaining formation, still broadcasting their approach vectors on open channels. Na shook her head slightly. They're telling us exactly where they'll be and when they'll arrive, still following their rules of honorable warfare. Should we do the same, Commander? Asked Ensign Min from Communications. Absolutely not, Na replied. We follow our rules, human rules. The ones written in blood over 10,000 years of warfare. The Soul's Pride was a frigate, small and fast, bristling with weapons the Council had never seen before. Around it, 11 other human ships held position near Proxima Station. The station itself was a civilian installation, home to 3,000 people, mostly scientists and their families. Those families had been evacuated 2 days ago. Now the station was defended by 12 ships against the incoming Talveth Armada, 200 against 12. On paper, it looked like a massacre. And it would be. Just not the way the Talveth expected. Captain Wu commanded Proxima Station. He was older than Na, a veteran who had served in the old Earth navies before humanity reached the stars. He'd seen combat before, though not like this. His voice came through the comm channel, steady and professional. Talveth fleet has entered the outer system, Wu reported. They're not even running stealth. Every ship is lit up like a festival. They want to intimidate us, Na observed. Show us the size of their force. Make us surrender without a fight. Is that going to work? Hyun asked nervously. Na smiled, but there was no humor in it. What do you think, Lieutenant? Hyun straightened in his chair. No, ma'am. Not even a little bit. The minutes ticked down. The Talveth fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, arranged in neat geometric patterns that looked beautiful against the stars. Their flagship began broadcasting immediately. Attention, human forces. This is Fleet Commander Rax of the Talveth Collective. Under the authority of the Galactic Council, we demand your immediate surrender. You have 1 hour to evacuate Proxima Station. After that time, we will take the station by force. Any resistance will be met with appropriate response. This is your only warning. Anyway, Wu's response was simple and direct. Fleet Commander Rax. This is Captain Wu of Proxima Station. You are in human space without authorization. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully. We don't want to do this. Please turn back. The Talveth fleet's response was laughter, transmitted on all channels. 200 ships against 12. A station with minimal weapons against the Council's finest warriors. It seemed absurd that the humans were warning them. Rax's voice came back, amused. Your courage is noted, Captain Wu. But courage without wisdom is foolishness. We will begin our approach. Use your hour wisely. Evacuate while you can. The Talveth fleet began moving toward Proxima Station in perfect formation, maintaining their geometric patterns, broadcasting their positions and vectors every 30 seconds, following every rule in their ancient warfare protocols. Na watched them come. All ships, this is Seoul's pride. Execute Protocol Sejong. Weapons free, authorization confirmed. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. The human ships didn't maintain formation. Instead, they scattered in 12 different directions, each vessel moving on its own unpredictable path. They went dark, killing all broadcasts, using stealth technology that made them nearly invisible to Talveth sensors. They're running! Someone on the Talveth flagship shouted, but they weren't running. They were hunting. The Soul's Pride came around behind the Talveth formation at tremendous speed. Na's tactical officer had calculated the approach vector perfectly, using the station's mass to mask their engine signature. Target lock on flagship, Hyun reported, his voice tight with tension. Multiple locks on surrounding vessels. Railgun capacitors charged. Fire, Na ordered quietly. The railgun rounds were simple chunks of metal, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. They weren't fancy. They didn't have guidance systems or warheads. They didn't need them. At those velocities, mass became the weapon. The rounds punched through the Talveth flagship's shields like they weren't there. Shields designed to stop energy weapons, to deflect slow-moving projectiles, to absorb radiation. They'd never been tested against solid objects moving at relativistic speeds. The flagship's weapons went offline. Its engines sputtered, its communication systems crashed. In 3 seconds, the pride of the Talveth fleet became a floating piece of disabled metal. But the Soul's Pride wasn't done. It fired again and again, each shot disabling another vessel. By the time the Talveth fleet realized they were under attack, 17 ships were dead in space. The other 11 human ships attacked from different angles, The destroyer Thunder's Echo fired missile swarms that split apart, each warhead independently tracking a different target. The Talveth point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many, moving too fast, coming from too many directions. The corvette Silent Wind launched electronic warfare packages that scrambled Talveth communication systems. Suddenly, the carefully coordinated fleet couldn't talk to each other. Each ship was alone, blind, fighting an enemy they couldn't see. The Talveth tried to fight back. They fired their plasma cannons, beautiful weapons that shot streams of superheated matter. But the human ships weren't where the Talveth expected them to be. They moved erratically, unpredictably, using tactics that made no sense according to the rules of honorable warfare. Because humans didn't fight honorably, they fought to win. Commander Na watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. It looked like chaos, but it wasn't. Every human captain knew exactly what they were doing. They'd trained for this, not for years, but for centuries. Every tactic being used had been tested in simulations based on real human wars. Flagship is trying to reorganize the fleet, Hyun reported. They're attempting to regroup in defensive formation. Don't let them, Na ordered. All ships. Priority targets are any vessels trying to coordinate the defense. Keep them scattered, keep them confused. The battle raged for 4 minutes and 32 seconds. Not hours, not even a full 5 minutes. When it ended, all 200 Talveth ships floated in space with dead engines and offline weapons. Their crews were alive but stunned. Not a single human vessel had taken damage. Na opened a channel to all the disabled ships. Talveth Fleet, this is Commander Na of the Soul's Pride. You are defeated but not destroyed. Your life support systems are intact. Your crews are unharmed. Rescue vessels will arrive within 6 hours to take you home. She paused, making sure every ship received the message. This is your only warning. Human space is not open to hostile forces. We asked you to leave peacefully. You chose to attack. Now you know what happens when you attack humanity. Tell your leaders, tell the council, tell everyone who will listen. We don't want war, but if you bring war to us, we will end it quickly. Silence filled the communication channels. Then, slowly, the Talveth ships began transmitting surrender signals. Captain Wu's voice came through, quiet and sad. All enemy vessels disabled, Commander. No casualties on either side. Log everything. Na ordered. Full recording of the engagement. The Council needs to see exactly what happened here. She looked at her tactical display, at the debris field of disabled ships, and felt no pride, no satisfaction, just a deep weariness. They had tried to warn the Talveth, tried to explain, but some lessons could only be learned through experience. Lieutenant Hyun, send a message to Seoul Command. Proxima Station is secure. Talveth fleet neutralized. Requesting diplomatic support for prisoner processing. Yes, ma'am. Message sent. Na sat in her command chair and closed her eyes for a moment. On the main view screen, the stars shone peacefully, uncaring about the violence that had just occurred beneath them. Commander? Hyun asked quietly. Do you think this will end it? Will the council back down now? Na opened her eyes and looked at the young lieutenant. I don't know. We showed them what we can do. We did it without killing anyone. We proved our point as gently as possible. But pride is a powerful thing. And the council has a lot of pride. What happens if they don't back down? Then we'll have to show them more, Na said softly. And each lesson will be harder than the last. For them, and for us. She stood up and walked to the view screen, looking out at the disabled fleet. Somewhere on those ships were Talveth soldiers who had gone into battle thinking they were heroes. Now they floated in space, defeated by an enemy they had underestimated. Let's hope they're smarter than we fear, Na whispered. Because if they're not, this is just the beginning. Fleet Admiral Kang stood in the war room deep beneath Seoul, surrounded by holographic displays showing the entire theater of operations. He was 68 years old, with white hair and a face that rarely smiled. He had spent 40 years preparing for a war he hoped would never come. Now, it was here. Status report, he said calmly. General Rena, his chief of staff, highlighted sections of the star map. The Council has mobilized 15,000 ships from 200 species. They've divided into 3 main fleet groups: Target, Earth, Mars, and the Outer Colonies. They plan to hit us simultaneously on multiple fronts. Force us to divide our fleet, Kang observed. Yes, sir. Standard military doctrine. Overwhelm the enemy through superior numbers and multiple attack vectors. Kang studied the display. 15,000 ships against humanity's 400 military vessels. On paper, it looked hopeless. 37-1 odds, but Kang knew something the Council didn't. What did we teach our officers about fighting superior numbers? He asked Rena. She smiled grimly. Never fight fair. Use every advantage. Make the enemy fight on your terms, not theirs. And what advantages do we have? Home territory. Knowledge of the battlefield. Civilian infrastructure converted for military use. And 1,000 years of combined warfare experience. Kang nodded. Activate the reserve fleets. All civilian vessels with combat capability. Report to nearest military coordinator. Authorization code. Broken arrow. Across human space, encrypted messages reached thousands of ships. Mining vessels equipped with industrial lasers capable of cutting through asteroids. Colony transports with engines powerful enough to achieve dangerous velocities. Cargo haulers that could be quickly armed with missile pods. Research ships with sensor suites better than most military scanners. Every human ship, civilian or military, had been built with one hidden requirement. It could be weaponized if necessary. Because humanity remembered what it was like to fight for survival. They remembered that in total war, there were no civilians. There was only us and them. Within 12 hours, the Council's scouts reported something impossible. Humanity's fleet had grown from 400 ships to over 12,000. How? The Council military coordinator demanded. Where did they get 12,000 warships? But they weren't warships. They were fishing boats armed with torpedoes. Passenger liners converted to missile platforms. Mining ships with their industrial equipment repurposed for combat. Even luxury yachts mounting improvised weapons. The Council had declared total war. Now they were learning what total war actually meant. But numbers weren't humanity's only advantage. While the Council fleet organized its massive assault, Captain Sung and his crew worked in the shadows. The Silent Observer was a stealth ship, designed for reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. For 3 weeks, Sung and his specialists had infiltrated Council communication networks. They had learned alien languages, studied psychological profiles, understood how different species thought and reacted. Now, it was time to use that knowledge. Begin Operation Babel, Sung ordered. Across the galaxy, human cyber warfare specialists launched the most sophisticated information campaign ever conceived. They didn't attack Council systems. They didn't shut down communications. Instead, they did something far more effective. They talked to the enemy. In the bridge of every Council ship, messages appeared in perfect native languages. Not threats, not propaganda, just questions. Do you know why your leaders ordered this war? Have they shown you what happened at Proxima? Do you understand what you're fighting? The messages included video files, carefully edited, emotionally impactful footage of humanity's wars. The trenches of World War I, where soldiers lived in mud and died by the millions. The atomic bombs dropped on cities, turning hundreds of thousands into ash in seconds. The tanks and aircraft and submarines, all designed for one purpose: killing other humans as efficiently as possible. This is what we did to ourselves, the messages continued. People who shared the same planet, the same air, the same ancestors. Imagine what we'll do to you if you force us. We beg you. Turn back. This war serves no one. The Council leadership tried to block the transmissions. But human hackers had spent decades learning to bypass censorship. They had grown up in the age of the Internet, where information flowed like water, and no wall could contain it for long. The messages spread through the fleet like wildfire. Species who had joined the war out of loyalty to the Council began asking questions. Why were they attacking humans? What had humans actually done? Was this war really necessary? 300 species quietly withdrew their ships from the combined fleet. They returned home, citing internal political concerns. But the real reason was simpler. They had seen the videos. They had read the messages. They understood. The remaining fleet, still 40,000 ships strong, pressed on. But now they were nervous. Now they understood they weren't fighting primitives. They were fighting survivors of the most violent species evolution had ever produced. The battle for Earth never came. Instead, human forces met the Council fleet at the edge of human space, in a region called the Border Zone. The Council fleet arrived in organized formations, ready for traditional space combat. They found themselves facing tactics they couldn't comprehend. Human ships appeared and disappeared, using stealth technology to strike from unexpected angles. They didn't form neat battle lines. They swarmed like insects, coordinating perfectly without apparent communication. The Council ships, trying to maintain proper formations, found themselves vulnerable. Human missiles didn't travel in straight lines. They curved and weaved, using gravitational assists and course corrections. Energy weapons struck from multiple directions simultaneously, overwhelming shields designed to block attacks from a single vector. And when Council ships tried to regroup, they discovered their communications were compromised. Human electronic warfare specialists flooded their channels with noise, confusion, contradictory orders. Fleet commanders couldn't coordinate with their subordinates. Wing leaders couldn't find their squadrons. It wasn't a battle. It was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Commander J, leading a squadron of converted cargo vessels, watched the chaos unfold on his tactical display. His ships, carrying nothing but sensor equipment and communication jammers, weren't even armed. But they were winning their part of the battle by making it impossible for the enemy to organize. Target the command ships, he ordered. Disrupt their communications. Keep them isolated. The Council fleet, despite overwhelming numbers, began to fall apart. Not from casualties, but from confusion. They couldn't fight an enemy they couldn't predict, couldn't track, couldn't understand. General Rena watched the battle from sole command. They're breaking formation. Multiple ships requesting permission to withdraw. Kang nodded. Open a channel, all frequencies. When the channel opened, his voice carried to every ship in the battle zone. Council forces. This is Fleet Admiral Kang of Earth Defense Command. You are not defeated. But you are outmatched. We have shown you what we're capable of. We have proven we can destroy you if we choose. He paused, letting his words reach every ship. We are offering you a chance to withdraw with honor. Your crews are brave. Your ships are beautiful. Your intentions were honest, even if misguided. Leave our space now, and no more blood will be shed. Stay, and we will be forced to continue. The choice is yours. The silence that followed felt endless. Then, slowly, ships began breaking off from the Council fleet. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Species that had come to fight realized they had come to die, and chose instead to live. The Talveth Collective, humiliated by their defeat at Proxima and now witnessing the destruction of the Grand Alliance, finally transmitted a message requesting immediate negotiations. The war was over. Not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through killing, but through knowledge. Humanity had shown the galaxy what real war looked like, and made them too terrified to continue learning. In the war room, Rena allowed herself a small smile. We won, sir. Without destroying a single enemy homeworld. Without massacring their crews, Kang didn't smile. We won this battle. But the real war is just beginning. Sir, now we have to teach them why we never wanted to fight in the first place, Kang said quietly. We have to show them that the strength to destroy isn't the same as the wisdom to create. We have to prove that humanity learned from our mistakes, so they don't have to make the same ones. He looked at the star map, at the thousands of ships retreating from human space, carrying with them the knowledge of what humanity could do. We showed them we're warriors, he said. Now we have to show them we're more than that. We have to be teachers, Guides. Proof that a violent species can choose peace. And if they don't listen? Rena asked. Kang finally smiled, but it was a sad smile. Then we'll keep teaching, however long it takes. Because that's what we learned from our own history. The hard way. And maybe, just maybe, we can help them learn it the easier way. 6 months after the war ended, Ambassador Day walked through the rebuilt council station. The corridors looked the same as before, but everything had changed. The species that had once looked at humans with suspicion or dismissal now moved aside respectfully, some with fear, others with curiosity. All with a new understanding. Day was 55 years old, a career diplomat who had spent 20 years building bridges between Earth and the galaxy. The war had nearly destroyed everything he had worked for. Now he was trying to rebuild those bridges, one conversation at a time. He entered a private meeting chamber, where Ambassador Kira waited. The Talveth representative's skin showed a deep blue, the color of shame and regret. Her 4 vocal cords produced a quiet harmony as she spoke. Ambassador Day, thank you for meeting with me. Day sat across from her, keeping his expression neutral and respectful. Ambassador Kira, I'm glad you reached out. I wanted to apologize, Kira said simply. Not just for myself, but for my entire species. We were arrogant, foolish. We thought we understood war because we had read about it in our history texts. We didn't understand it all. Day nodded slowly. Understanding war and experiencing it are very different things. You're fortunate you learned the difference without paying the full price. Your people showed remarkable restraint, Kira said. You could have destroyed us. At Proxima, your ships disabled 200 of ours without killing a single crew member. During the main conflict, you used non-lethal tactics whenever possible. Why? Day looked out the window at the stars. Because we remember what it's like to show no restraint. We remember what happens when you stop seeing the enemy as people and start seeing them as targets. We swore we would never become that again. But you could have. You had the power. Having power and using it are different choices, Day replied. The hardest lessons humanity ever learned were about knowing when not to use our strength. About understanding that winning a battle doesn't mean you've won anything worth having. Kira was quiet for a long moment. We've been studying your history files. The ones you sent before the war. The ones we ignored. And they're horrifying, Kira said softly. The things you did to each other. The weapons you created. The suffering you inflicted. How do you live with that knowledge? How do you move forward knowing what your species is capable of? Day considered the question carefully. We teach it. Every human child learns about our wars. Not to make them proud, but to make them careful. We show them what we did wrong, so they don't repeat our mistakes. We carry that weight, so future generations remember why peace matters. And now we hope we can help others learn the same lessons without paying the same price we did. That's why we didn't destroy your fleet. That's why we're here talking instead of fighting, because we want to believe that species can learn from each other's mistakes. Kira's skin shifted to a lighter blue, a sign of hope in Talveth culture. There's a proposal before the council. Something your Professor Jin suggested. A defense academy. A place where species can learn about warfare, strategy, and conflict resolution. Day smiled. I heard about that. What does the council think? Many species support it. They want to understand what happened. Why they lost so badly. How humans think about conflict. She paused. The council wants humans to run the academy. To teach the galaxy what real warfare looks like. So they don't have to learn it themselves, Day finished. Exactly. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Defense Academy opened on a neutral moon orbiting a peaceful world. Captain Hana became the Academy's first combat tactics instructor. She was a patient teacher, but she never sugar-coated her lessons. War is not honorable, she told her first class of alien students. War is failure. It's what happens when diplomacy, negotiation, and compromise all fail. Everything you learn here should teach you one thing: how to avoid war. And if you can't avoid it, how to end it as quickly as possible. Lieutenant Yuna taught strategic planning. Her classes focused on understanding opponents, predicting behavior, and finding solutions that didn't require fighting. The best victory, she explained, is the one where nobody has to die. Dr. Sora led the history department. She made sure every species learned not just humanity's wars, but the lessons paid for in human blood. We made these mistakes, she would tell her students, so you don't have to. Learn from our failures. Be smarter than we were. The Academy became a symbol of the new galactic order. Species that had fought each other for thousands of years came together to learn. Not to become better warriors, but to become better at preventing war. Professor Jin, now the Academy's director, gave a speech at the 6-month anniversary ceremony. Representatives from 400 species attended. 6 months ago, Jin began. Humanity fought a war we never wanted. We won, not because we love fighting, but because we understand it too well. We showed the galaxy our strength. But strength alone means nothing. What matters is what you do with it. He gestured to the students filling the auditorium. These beings come from worlds that have been at peace for millennia. They're learning about warfare not to wage it, but to prevent it. They're studying human history not to repeat it, but to avoid it. That's what we hoped for when we reached the stars. Not to be feared, but to be understood. Not to conquer, but to teach. The applause was universal, crossing species and cultures. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Kang prepared to retire. He stood in sole command one final time, looking at the displays that showed human ships scattered across known space. Most were back to civilian duties now, mining, transporting, exploring, living peaceful lives. But they could be armed again in hours if needed. That would never change. General Rena stood beside him. Any regrets, sir? Kang thought about it. I regret the war happened at all. But I don't regret how we fought it. We showed the minimum force necessary. We protected our people. We taught the galaxy a lesson they needed to learn. And now we watch. We teach. We stay ready. Because the galaxy has learned that humanity is strong. Now they need to learn that we're more than our strength. He turned to Rena. You're taking over command? Yes, sir. Remember, Kang said seriously. Our weapons are tools. Our real strength is in choosing when not to use them. The moment we forget that, we become the monsters from our own history. I'll remember, sir. Kang gave his final address to the combined human fleet through a recorded message. Every ship, every station, every human in space received it. For centuries, he said, we prepared for a war against ourselves. We built weapons thinking we'd fight each other among the stars. Instead, we found ourselves protecting others from making our mistakes. That may be the greatest achievement in human history. Not conquering the galaxy, but teaching it that conquest isn't worth the cost. He paused, choosing his final words carefully. We showed them we're warriors. Now show them we're builders, explorers, teachers, friends. Show them that a species can learn from its darkest moments and become something better. Show them that strength without wisdom is just violence, but strength with wisdom can be peace. The transmission ended with an image of Earth rising over the lunar horizon. Beautiful. Peaceful. Home. In the council chambers, a formal vote took place. Humanity was granted a permanent seat on the Council Security Committee. Not because they had won a war, but because they had shown restraint in victory. Ambassador Day accepted the honor with a simple statement. We will use this position to prevent war, not prepare for it. To build peace, not break it. To remember that every conflict avoided is a victory worth celebrating. The galaxy, for the first time in its recorded history, began to understand what humanity had learned through centuries of pain. That the strongest warriors are those who choose not to fight, that the greatest victories are those won without battle, that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but the wisdom to resolve it without violence. And humanity, watching over this new age of understanding, finally allowed themselves to laugh again. Not at the Council's earlier foolishness, but at the beautiful absurdity of it all. They had crossed the stars seeking adventure and discovery. Instead, they had become teachers, sharing the hardest lessons they had ever learned. In a small cafe on Mars, Captain Tay met with his old crew. They had all served during the war. Now they were back to normal lives. Families, jobs, dreams. Do you think it'll last? Someone asked. The peace? Tay thought about it, sipping his coffee. Maybe. Maybe not. But we showed them what happens if it doesn't. And we showed them that we don't want that any more than they do. Sometimes that's enough. And if it's not? Tay smiled. Then we'll teach them again. As many times as it takes. Because that's what we do. We survive. We learn. We teach. And we never, ever give up on the possibility that tomorrow can be better than today. Earth's sun shone on a humanity that had finally found its place among the stars. Not as conquerors or victims, but as the galaxy's reminder of what civilization truly costs and what it's truly worth. They had fought their war, won their victory, earned their respect. Now came the harder part. Earning their trust. Building their future. Teaching their children that the strength to destroy is meaningless without the wisdom to create. The galaxy was learning. Slowly. Carefully. And humanity, patient teachers, born from painful lessons, was there to guide them every step of the way. The stars shone peacefully over a galaxy that had learned to laugh at war, just as humanity had, because in the end, laughter was the only sane response to the absurdity of beings capable of such beauty choosing destruction instead. They had learned. Together. And the future, uncertain as always, held the promise that maybe, just maybe, the lesson would stick.